The 8 most dangerous places you could never survive. Let's start with the places that will merely kill you and work our way towards the ones that make every other dangerous location on Earth look like somewhere you could bring the family for a long weekend. Number 8. Oymyakon, Russia. Oymyakon is a small village in the Sakha Republic of northeastern Russia. It has a population of approximately 500 people. It has a school, a shop, and a community center. It is also the coldest permanently inhabited place on Earth. The lowest temperature ever recorded in Oymyakon was minus 67.7 degrees Celsius in 1933. To give you a sense of what that means in practical terms, at minus 40 degrees, which is significantly warmer than Oymyakon's average winter temperature, exposed skin freezes in under a minute. Exhaled breath freezes before it disperses. Metal tools stick to bare skin. Glasses fuse to faces. At minus 67 degrees, none of those problems are your most immediate concern because you are already dead. The village sits in a valley which traps cold air and prevents it from dispersing, meaning that temperatures that would be extreme elsewhere are simply Tuesday in Oymyakon. The ground is permanently frozen to a depth of 1,500 meters. There is no running water because pipes cannot survive underground. Cars are kept running continuously because engines that stop in that temperature may never start again. The name Oymyakon translates roughly to non-freezing water, which refers to a nearby thermal spring and is therefore either a very reassuring name or a very misleading one, depending on how you look at it.
Number 7. Lake Natron, Tanzania. Lake Natron sits in the Gregory Rift in northern Tanzania and is one of the most inhospitable bodies of water on the surface of the planet. The lake has a pH of between 9 and 10.5, comparable to ammonia, and surface temperatures that can reach 60 degrees Celsius. The water is colored a vivid, deep red by the halophilic microorganisms that thrive in it, which are the only things that do thrive in it. What makes Lake Natron genuinely terrifying is what it does to animals that enter it. The high alkalinity of the water calcifies organic matter. It turns the soft tissue of animals that die in or near the lake into a mineral shell, preserving their shape in extraordinary detail. Photographer Nick Brandt documented calcified animals along the lake's shore in 2013. Birds and bats preserved in perfect, rigid poses, exactly as they died. The lake is also one of the only breeding grounds for East Africa's flamingo population. Approximately 75% of the world's lesser flamingo population breeds here. They do this because the extreme conditions that kill almost everything else keep predators away. The flamingos are not bothered by the conditions because they have evolved specifically to handle them. You have not.
Number 6. The Danakil Depression, Ethiopia. The Danakil Depression in northeastern Ethiopia sits at approximately 125 meters below sea level and is widely considered the most geologically hostile place on Earth that is not currently underwater. Average daily temperatures exceed 50 degrees Celsius. The region sits at the junction of 3 tectonic plates that are actively pulling apart, which means the landscape is in constant geological motion. Active volcanoes, lava lakes, hydrothermal fields, and acid pools cover the terrain. The air in certain areas contains concentrations of toxic gases, including sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, sufficient to cause rapid incapacitation without breathing protection. And yet, approximately 500 Afar people live there. They have lived there for generations. They harvest salt from the lake beds and trade it. They know exactly which ground is solid and which is thin crust over boiling acid, and they navigate it barefoot. For everyone else, the Danakil Depression requires full protective equipment, an experienced guide, a working vehicle, and the knowledge that if any of those things fail, the environment will kill you before help can arrive. Which is either a testament to human adaptability or a very strong argument for staying home.
Number 5. Zone Rouge, France. The Zone Rouge, the Red Zone, is a collection of areas across northeastern France that were declared uninhabitable after the First World War and have never been cleared for human use into this land, in quantities that are almost impossible to comprehend. During the First World War, the Western Front ran through this region. For 4 years, both sides fired artillery shells, poison gas canisters, and every other form of industrial munitions into this land in quantities that are almost impossible to comprehend. When the war ended, the French government surveyed the land and concluded that certain areas were too contaminated to ever safely inhabit. The soil contains arsenic concentrations 17 times the safe limit. It contains unexploded shells at a density of up to 300 per hectare, many of them chemical weapons containing mustard gas and phosgene that remain lethal over a century later. It contains the unrecovered remains of an estimated 100,000 soldiers. A team of French bomb disposal experts, called the Demineurs, has been clearing unexploded ordnance from the region since 1945. They remove approximately 40 tons of shells per year. They have been killed doing it. They estimate the work will take another 300 to 700 years to complete. The trees that grow in the Zone Rouge grow abnormally. The soil is so saturated with heavy metals that the vegetation that manages to survive is visibly different from normal woodland. The last major war in this region ended 107 years ago. The land still has not recovered, and in some places, it never will.
Number 4. North Sentinel Island, India. North Sentinel Island is a small, forested island in the Bay of Bengal, belonging to the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago of India. It is approximately 60 square kilometers. From the air, it looks like a dense green oval surrounded by reef and turquoise water. It is the most dangerous island on Earth. The Sentinelese people who live on North Sentinel Island have had no meaningful contact with the outside world for an estimated 60,000 years. They are one of the last truly uncontacted peoples on the planet. They have no knowledge of the outside world, no immunity to diseases that are trivial to the rest of humanity, and an extremely clear and consistently demonstrated policy regarding visitors. They kill them. Every documented attempt to make contact with the Sentinelese has ended in the visitors being driven off with arrows, spears, and rocks. In 2006, 2 fishermen whose boat drifted to the island during the night were killed. In 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Chow paid fishermen to take him to the island, waded ashore, and was killed on his second attempt to make contact. The Indian government officially prohibits approach within 3 nautical miles of the island. The prohibition exists not to protect visitors from the Sentinelese, but to protect the Sentinelese from visitors. A common cold introduced to a population with 0 immune history could kill every person on the island. The Sentinelese do not want contact. They have made this clear for 60,000 years. They are still making it clear. The island is beautiful, isolated, and will almost certainly kill you the moment you step ashore. Number 3. Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, Ukraine. On April 26, 1986, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Soviet Ukraine exploded during a safety test that went catastrophically wrong. The explosion and subsequent fire released approximately 400 times the radiation of the Hiroshima atomic bomb into the atmosphere. The Soviet government evacuated 350,000 people from the surrounding area within days. A 2,600 square kilometer exclusion zone was established around the plant. It has remained in place ever since. Inside the exclusion zone, nature has reclaimed what humans abandoned. Forests have grown through buildings. Animals that have not lived in the region for decades have returned. Wolves, bears, lynx, and Przelsky's horses now inhabit the zone in numbers not seen for generations, because the radiation that makes the area dangerous to humans is less immediately damaging to animals with shorter lifespans than the absence of human activity is beneficial to wildlife. The radiation itself is not gone. It will not be gone for a very long time. The area directly around the reactor, known as the Red Forest, received such extreme contamination that the trees turned red and died within days of the explosion. The Red Forest remains one of the most radioactively contaminated areas on the planet's surface. Cesium-137, one of the primary contaminants released, has a half-life of 30 years, which means the area will not return to safe radiation levels for approximately 20,000 years. Tourists visit Chernobyl today under carefully managed conditions.
The radiation exposure from a day trip is roughly equivalent to a long-haul flight. The danger is real, but manageable with the right precautions. The danger from spending time near the reactor building without precautions is not manageable. Several of the first responders who entered without adequate protection in the hours after the explosion died of acute radiation syndrome within weeks. Some died within days.
Number 2. The Darien Gap, Columbia, Panama. The Pan American Highway runs from Prudhoe Bay in Alaska to the southern tip of South America, a distance of approximately 30,000 kilometers. It is one of the longest road systems in the world. There is one section where it stops. Completely. The Darien Gap is approximately 100 kilometers of roadless jungle on the border between Colombia and Panama. It is the only break in the Pan American Highway, and the reason the break exists is simple. No one has successfully built a road through it and survived the attempt long enough to finish. The terrain is a combination of dense rainforest, swamp, rivers with no crossings, and mountain ranges with no passes that are not also rivers for significant portions of the year. The biodiversity is extraordinary. The Darien contains some of the most intact primary rainforest remaining in Central America. It is also controlled by armed criminal and paramilitary organizations who view the roadless jungle as an asset. The FARC dissidents and Clan del Golfo cartel operate throughout the Darien. Kidnapping, robbery, and worse are documented regularly. And yet, in recent years, hundreds of thousands of migrants from South America, Haiti, Africa, and Asia have crossed the Darien Gap on foot, attempting to reach North America. They cross through some of the most hostile terrain on Earth, through territory controlled by people who view them as a resource to be exploited, with whatever supplies they can carry. Many do not make it. The ones who do describe an experience that no road will ever replicate and that they never want to repeat.
Number 1. Mir Mine, Russia. The Mir Mine in Mirny, eastern Siberia, was one of the largest diamond mines in the world. It operated from 1957 to 2004. It is now closed. It is also one of the most physically dangerous places on Earth to simply stand near. The mine is 525 meters deep and 1,200 meters wide. It is large enough to be visible from space. It is large enough that the airspace directly above it has been designated a no-fly zone for helicopters because the mine creates its own weather system. Powerful downdrafts generated by temperature differentials between the cold Siberian air and the warmer air rising from the mine floor are strong enough to pull helicopters downward faster than they can compensate. 3 helicopters have been pulled into the mine. The mine sits in a region of continuous permafrost. The walls of the mine are not stable. Sections collapse with no warning. The floor of the mine, 525 meters below the surface, is accessible only by a spiraling road that takes approximately 40 minutes to drive in optimal conditions. In non-optimal conditions, which is most conditions in eastern Siberia, the descent is significantly more complicated. The town of Mirny that grew around the mine has a population of approximately 35,000 people. They live on the edge of a hole large enough to have its own weather, in one of the most remote and inhospitable regions on the planet, in temperatures that regularly reach minus 60 degrees Celsius. They chose to live there, which in its own way is the most terrifying thing on this entire list.